Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something called the quiet eye, which is all about elite focus in the last half second before you do something. We're going to uncover exactly what happens to your focus in that tiny, crucial window of time right before execution. We usually think that elite accuracy just comes down to having perfect mechanics and, well, trying to concentrate way harder than the next guy. But as we're about to see, the science tells a completely different and honestly super fascinating story. So I want you to picture a really specific, kind of agonizing feeling. Have you ever stood over a shot, one you've literally hit 10,000 times in practice, and you suddenly feel your eyes start flicking around? You look from the target, down to your hands, back to the target, maybe you even peek over at the crowd, and somehow, right in your gut, you just knew the shot was completely gone before your body even started moving. It's the absolute worst. You had the technique down, you put in the reps, but in that final critical second, something in your attention just came loose and your accuracy totally went out the window with it. And honestly, that perfectly illustrates the main problem we all deal with under pressure. When the heat is on, what's our first instinct? We try to concentrate harder, right? We tell ourselves to focus, we clench our jaws like that's magically going to help, and we just hope sheer willpower gets the job done. But biological reality tells a different story. Focus isn't just some volume knob you can turn up. Under pressure, your gaze doesn't actually get more intense, it gets faster. Your eyes frantically start sampling everything around you, jumping from cue to cue, basically just hunting for reassurance. And every single one of those microscopic little jumps is robbing your motor system of the stable visual data it desperately needs to program your movement. So you're quite literally trying harder, but seeing less. Well, what if we completely flipped our perspective on this? What if the biggest, most reliable difference between an absolute pro and a total amateur isn't their physical swing or their throwing mechanics at all? What if the real game changer is literally just where their eyes are pointed for the last few hundred milliseconds before they make a move? Section 1, the quiet eye solution. Okay, so this concept completely reinvents how we think about concentration under pressure. It's called the quiet eye. And it is not about straining or trying to focus harder. It's actually incredibly simple. It's about holding one final, completely still fixation on a single relevant location and just holding it there slightly longer than feels natural. This brilliant term comes from a researcher named Joan Vickers. Back in 1996, she published this foundational paper looking at visual control in basketball free throws. She tracked the players' gazes and found something amazing. The better shooters locked onto the hoop way earlier, and they held that gaze completely still for longer before the shot even began. Even wilder, for the exact same shooter, their fixation was always longer on the shots they actually made compared to the ones they bricked. To really put into perspective just how powerful this is, let's look at a 2011 study by Sam Vine. He took 22 elite male golfers and split them into two groups. Half of them got just a single quiet eye training session, literally just practicing holding their gaze on the back of the golf ball for 2 to 3 seconds. The other half just hit normal practice putts. Then they put them through a high-pressure test in the lab, and the results were night and day. The trained group held their final fixation for about 2,794 milliseconds. But the control group, their focus totally collapsed under the pressure, plummeting down to just 1,405 milliseconds. The athletes who had that one training session were holding their gaze almost twice as long when the heat was on. Now, just in the interest of full scientific transparency, there is a quick caveat about this specific lab test. The researchers actually lost the eye tracker video for 5 of those trained golfers because of some technical glitches. It happens, right? So that specific millisecond comparison technically rests on just 6 trained players versus the 11 controls. It's a small sample size for that specific data point, for sure. But as you're about to see, the real-world results they got were anything but small. Because the really crucial part is what happened when these golfers left the lab and actually played on the course. They tracked 10 competitive rounds before the training and 10 competitive rounds after. The gaze-trained group cut a staggering 1.92 putts per round, and the control group, they didn't improve at all. Think about that. Nearly 2 full strokes saved per round, entirely from a single session of just practicing where to point their eyes. That is a massive proof of concept. Section 2. Attentional control theory. So why does this actually happen? What's going on under the hood that makes our focus collapse? And why does the quiet eye fix it? Think of your attention like a constant tug of war between 2 different systems in your brain. On one side, you've got goal-directed control. This is your deliberate, top-down attention, the stuff you consciously choose to look at. On the other side is stimulus-driven control. This system is basically an alarm system. It gets automatically hijacked by whatever's the loudest, most distracting, or most threatening thing around you. Attentional control theory argues that when you feel anxiety or pressure, it shifts the balance away from your deliberate goals and hands the steering wheel straight over to your threat system. Your eyes, they're just the visible dashboard readout of that internal shift. A long still fixation means your deliberate goal-directed attention is winning the tug of war. A scattered, jittery gaze means your threat system has taken over. And we absolutely know this isn't just from one lucky golf study. A massive 2016 meta-analysis pooled data from 27 different studies and found an undeniable gap in quiet eye duration between experts and novices. We're talking an effect size of 1.04, which, if you're into statistics, is an absolutely huge difference. They also found a moderate difference between a successful attempt and a failed attempt by the exact same athlete. But most importantly, across 9 different training studies, teaching athletes the quiet eye produced a large, consistent positive effect on their actual performance. The data here is just incredibly robust. Section 3, the honest scientific caveat. All right, let's get into the really cutting-edge science now, because this is the nuance that most online performance content completely skips over. To really master this, we have to look a bit deeper. In 2023, researchers published 2 pre-registered virtual reality putting experiments in PLOS One, and their conclusion forces us to rethink things a bit. They suggested that the quiet eye might actually be a visible marker of an underlying cognitive state rather than the engine of it. Let me explain what they mean. When they tested 127 novice golfers in VR, they found that people held these long, quiet eye fixations even when the visual scene was totally blocked out. So the eye isn't just acting like a camera gathering visual data. Plus, when they looked trial by trial for the exact same person, holding the fixation a bit longer didn't perfectly guarantee that specific putt would drop. And as any scientist will remind you, most of the evidence we have comparing pros to amateurs is cross-sectional. That means it proves a huge difference exists right now, but it doesn't definitively prove that the eye movement alone caused the expertise. So the scientific debate happening right now is super fascinating. The training benefits are undeniably real, but researchers are still totally debating the exact internal mechanism that makes it work. Section 4, your action plan. But here's the thing. Even with scientists debating the underlying engine, the real-world performance results are just too strong to ignore. You absolutely do not need to wait for them to finish arguing, to start cutting strokes, sinking free throws, and locking in your own focus. So here is a concrete 2-step action plan you can use today. Step 1, choose one highly specific target location and commit to it before you even set up. And I don't mean a general area. If you're putting, pick literally one single dimple on the back of the golf ball. If you're shooting a free throw, pick one exact rust spot on the front rim. Step 2, hold your fixation completely still on that spot for a slow 2 count before you move, and let your eyes stay right there all the way through contact. Remember, if your gaze leaves early, your body left early too. Oh, and here's a huge bonus tip. Film yourself from the side. We are remarkably bad at feeling our own eye movements. You honestly won't feel your eyes flicking under pressure, but I guarantee your smartphone camera will catch it. Which leaves us with this final thought for you to take away. I want you to apply this directly to whatever it is you do. In your sport, your art, your work, what is the exact point you fix your eyes on before you go? Taking the time to figure out that one specific point might honestly be the most important thing you do today. Well, if this explainer helped you understand the actual mechanics behind Elite Focus, be sure to hit subscribe for more science-backed performance insights. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.